New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Hello and welcome to Growing Edge Live. I'm Allie Benjamin, your host, and it is my great joy and pleasure to be here today. Each week I come on here and share a conversation with somebody that is channeling their time, their talent, their energy, their resources, their love into doing good work in the world. And if you're here for the first time, welcome. If you're back because you love hearing about what's going on in the world and all the good work that's been done and hear some of the good news, then welcome back. I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm really grateful to the Satya Center who sponsors this show and to the New Thought Media Network who produces our show. Thank you so much. Today, I have a very special episode. My friend Marty Bacher is back. This will be his second time here with me, and we're going to do something a little different. So I'm going to invite Marty in. And where are you? There he is. Welcome back. Yes. So good to see you.
Good to see you, my dear, as always.
Well, I was doing a little research trying to figure out when you were on the show last, and I see that it was in June of 24. It's been a long time. It doesn't seem that long ago. But if anyone wants to go back and watch that episode, which I did this morning, you can go back into the archives and under the live tab and look for June the 24th, 2024, to hear a little bit more about Marty and how we know each other and how this body of work that he's going to be sharing today got started. And so we're going to skip over all that, but please know that this is a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for many years, and we are continuously supporting each other on our spiritual path, on our path through this chaotic life, and a lot more. So Marty, welcome. I'm glad that you're here, and I'm really excited to share what we're going to do today. So where are you, by the way?
Where am I in the world?
Yeah, where are you right now?
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, and I'm in Farmington, Utah. And so from across the miles, we're going to do something today. And I think you are best equipped to share with everyone what exactly we're doing, because I don't think I could explain it. What are we doing?
We'll give it a shot. You know, it's funny. I was telling somebody about you the other day and saying, you know, Allie's sort of like my spiritual wife. You know, you have a work wife and you have a real wife. So you would be my spiritual wife. And so I want to apologize to people watching if we we get together on a fairly regular basis. So if we move into shorthand, we apologize for that. So just a quick overview of me. I was in ministry I guess you never really leave, but active ministry. I graduated in 91 and spent 35 years in various forms of pulpit ministry or supporting ministry or all that sort of thing. Did a stint as a minister's spouse, which was an intriguing and interesting thing. And so tarot has been sort of this interest, hobby thing for me, but it really was over the last few years that I really sort of delved in more deeply. And I took a class in mindful tarot, which was appealing because it was about mindfulness and being present, and more so than psychic phenomena, although it's all good. And then I found this relationship between tarot and understanding how that works and how it unfolds with the heroic journey that Joseph Campbell laid out many years ago, and that I was exposed to. Dear friend and mentor taught me about this idea, and then shared her workshop material, and began to see how we are all on a journey, and you see the journey over and over and over once you understand it. Campbell, what his brilliance was he went to all these different cultures and mythologies and could see there was a commonality to the story that we all go through. And so when you see it, like I said, it's brilliant. For me, what opened up out of that was being able to look at our lives differently. And I think so often what we want to do is we have a problem and we want to solve a problem. And so the challenges in our lives are seen as problems that we need to overcome, resolve, end. And through this approach, I began to understand how the problem is really the opportunity. It's the invitation, if you will. And so somewhere, because all my best work is done while I'm asleep, I had this dream and saw how the heroic journey that Joseph Campbell laid out worked as a spread for how tarot could work, which is another form of the hero journey. And so what we're going to do today is do a reading. And the idea today is that we're going to do it for Allie, but we're going to do it with a broader perspective of the collective as well. So, we're in January of 2006, and we're all thinking, what does this year hold? And so that's kind of a nice place to start, if that sounds good to you.
It sounds really good to me. I'm a little scared because, you could reveal something that I'm, was trying to keep under wraps.
That's right. And the good news is you heard it here first. That's a breaking story. Yes, because that's what I like to do. I really like to expose people's vulnerabilities and shame them in front of their friends, right?
Oh, thank you.
So I want you to pick a number 1 through 3.
Okay. 3.
Excellent. So that's the deck we're going to use. This is just a standard traditional. In fact, I think this is my original deck, Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Now, what we're going to do, I want you to kind of send your energy to the deck, if you will.
Okay.
And I want you to count to 10.
Out loud?
Yeah.
1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Let's see what we've got here. Now, one of my goals for this year is to be better at technology stuff. Set this up so I have an overhead camera and you can see what I'm doing, but we'll just make it work. Okay. So all right. So at the heart of the circle, so if you envision a circle, at the heart of the circle is what in tarot is often called the signifier. I call it the seeker. So that's a part of you at this moment, part of us at this moment. And the seeker for this card is the moon.
Mm.
So moon is a wonderful card. It speaks to the fact that you can see things in at night that look different in the day.
Mm.
It also usually is revealing from unconscious or subconscious. You see the crustacean emerging from the water that's being revealed in the sun. So that means there's something perhaps at a deeper level of consciousness that wants to be revealed. So in any heroic journey, and I use that term sort of generically because it's too hard to say hero or heroine, all that sort of thing. So heroic is the best I can say. And the thing that I've been thinking about in terms of, we like to think of Superman as a hero or all these action stars, but we all are a hero in our own right. And heroes, I have a nephew who's my hero, and he's experienced great challenges. And the last thing he ever wants to hear is that he's a hero. But he's heroic in my mind because he faced the challenges and keeps learning to live more fully and more graciously. And to me, that's the thing of the heroism is a situation arises and you deal with it. Rather than run, you deal with it, you jump in. So we're all on that journey, unless we're still running, thinking that we can hide from our problems. But that doesn't always work. So at the top of the circle, we have what we would call our ordinary world. And so you'll often see in mythological stories or in movies or in legend that, you're living your ordinary life, and then something, you're just minding your own business, as it were. And then something happens either to you or inwardly that causes you to go forward. So for your ordinary reality, for your ordinary life, the Three of Wands is showing up. And the Three of Wands is sort of a card of planning, of looking out at the world and saying, what will I envision? So that's interesting. Again, sort of fits with the time. Then, as I said, so when we're just kind of looking, planning, structuring, life happens. And so sometimes that call to the adventure comes as an invitation or as a divine discontent. I got to go to Broadway and be a star, or it may be some event that's thrust upon you, a death, a divorce, tragedy of some kind. And now your ordinary reality, you're being called to the adventure. So your call to the adventure is the Knight of Swords. Swords have to do with the intellectual realm. They have to do, if you think of swords as air, that quality of air, and knights have to do with action. So when you look at the different knights, this is one that's moving into action. Something saying, okay, you're being called, whether you want to or not, into action. And you're not doing it slowly and methodically. It's like you're in, right? So that's interesting. Now, one of the things that we see in the heroic journey is very on in the journey, some what I call a supernatural gift, some amulet or something is given to the hero that they don't always recognize the full significance of in the moment. So sometimes it's an idea, sometimes it's a teaching, sometimes it's a physical object or something. I always think of Dorothy in her red shoes. She gets early in the journey, but doesn't figure out what the purpose of those is until much later. And so for this reading, the supernatural aid is what is called the Five of Pentacles. Pentacles having to do with form, with substance, money, that sort of thing. So this often is called the being out in the cold card. Mm-hmm. So you say, well, how is that a supernatural aid? For me, when I look at any card, I never see him as good or bad. I see him as a story. And so what you see is these people out in the cold are missing the thing that's shining brightly behind them. There's an inner sanctuary. And so what speaks to me in this is that remembrance of the inner sanctuary when we feel like we're being buffeted by life's events.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really relating to everything you've said at the moment. It seems like a very apropos story for the very beginning of the year, January, the vision, the inner light that might be we might perceive as missing, or we don't see our inner wisdom or inner energy as that secret superpower or what have you. So
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
think I'm tracking.
Okay. Sometimes it sits there and we don't even realize or we've forgotten it's there. But I'm guessing there's been times in your life when you felt abused by life and then remembered, oh, there's an inner sanctuary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've spent many times, many hours, years, feeling very outwardly focused, looking to the outside world for things to change, or for things to get better, or for me to acquire something that my surface mind or my ego thinks, well, that needs to happen. And, when it doesn't, then I feel like disappointed. I can feel shame or whatever for not having manifested it. And then when I take time to go inside or do my morning practice, then I realize, like you said, Dorothy and her ruby slippers, that I had the power all along. Like it was inside me all along, said Glenda the Good Witch.
Right, right. And so again, this is the story that we're all on. We're all telling the same story in different ways, right? So then we come to this stage in the journey. We've been called to the adventure. We've been given the gift, and then we're called to a threshold. And it's called crossing the threshold. And I was thinking about this, like if you think about what is a threshold, it's a place that guards between two spaces. So from outside to inside, and carrying the sweet little bride across the threshold into a new life, literally. Or I was thinking about that. What was that show? The Highlanders, was it? Where the gal kept coming back and forth between times.
Yes, Outlander.
Yeah. Outlander, yes, and would go into this, portal basically. So that's a great, that's a very visual, symbolic of like there comes a point in the journey where you kind of got across the bridge. You may toy, you may play, but something's going to call you across that. In this case, you've got the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles can be looked at it again. Pentacles have to do with form, earth. This is sort of can be a card of generosity. Some people see a stingy merchant just giving a little bit, but there's a lot of different ways with any card to look at it. So it sits there. It may make more sense as we go along as perhaps a passing of generosity. Perhaps it's asking you to give something that at some level you maybe would not rather give. Can't I just have my own time, my own space, my own way of being? Can't I, can't I have anything for me? Just a thought that comes to mind.
Well, I think of it because you talked about, the amulet or the special power, and it's within. And so I see that Pentacles card as being me or we, whoever's, taking this hero's journey with us, as offering out some of that inner light. So I'm seeing those little crumbs as me or we spreading our light.
Right. I love it. So then we move into, having crossed the threshold, we move into this place called the Road of Trials. So this is where we're tested. This is where we're challenged. Now, in our own lives, we tend to, I don't know, I remember as a minister, I'd have people come to me wanting prayer, and it usually is because they were somewhere on the road of trials. Rarely did they ever call and say, hey, my life is swell, pray for me. It's kind of like, but the thing that makes a story good is the road of trials. It is the challenge. We need that act 2 in order for something to happen. So interestingly, what's sitting in your road of trials is the Six of Cups. So again, sixes often have to do with perseverance. So cups have to do emotion. They have to do with love, with subconscious, with the things of feeling. So what that says to me, interesting that you have two sixes next to each other, that we're going to persevere through some things. You're going to perhaps be invited to love more generously than might be your preference or your desire. I don't know. We'll see what comes out of that. So that's an interesting card to have in that challenge position. But I think we're all learning to open up. It also sometimes has to do with the aspect of nostalgia. And so that may be part of that, may be that being caught in the trial of wishing for the good old days.
Okay.
Then we come, this is good. Then we come to the supreme ordeal. And I always like to take a moment to explain what the supreme ordeal is, because in this context, it's not the most dramatic thing that happens to you. It's the moment when you are left face to face with yourself. People in 12 steps will often talk about their hitting bottom. And it's not necessarily that it was the craziest event. It was the moment they just said, this isn't working. I've got to begin a new path. And they take that new path. I often say in the Christian mythology of Jesus and the resurrection, the death and resurrection, the supreme ordeal for me in that is always in the garden. It's not the crucifixion itself. It's the surrendering in the garden to this life that he's chosen. That's where, so to me, it's about surrender in the context of opening up to what's being born. And what we're told is we can't be, we have to die to the old in order for the new to be born. So we have at that.
That's a bit dramatic.
It's a bit dramatic. The 10 of Swords. Everybody sees this and freaks out like, But what it means is, it means it's time to let go of something for good. 10 swords in the back says it's dead. Let it die. Let it go. Let it be. So, that's not a lot. That's not very subtle, that one.
Well, no, but it's really interesting because let me see if I can find it. I just, I have a, I don't know if it's quite a daily practice, but it's a practice nonetheless. And I do this several days a week, and I create using my art, and I always have this desire to share something that helps others, and so I combine my art with a message, and so this could be the letting go. So her wings appeared when her history and what happened to her evolved into a new story that gave her wings and set her free. That was the one I created for this morning. Well, and so now I'm, so I'm thinking those, that ending something is like identifying with my old story or the history.
Right.
So, okay, keep going.
All right. Very good. So then here's the good news. Having gone through that, having gone through this supreme ordeal, then we come to finding the gift, finding the reward. So I love that because I always, so often spiritually, you probably don't do this, but what I want to do is I want to skip the bad part and just get to the, can't I just win? I don't want to grow through this. I just want what I want when I want it, right?
Yeah. That was like me and my husband last night. We didn't have dinner. We just went and had ice cream and brownies.
Awesome. So on the other side of this ordeal, of the struggle, of this letting go, of the surrender, comes the reward. And the reward for you is the Queen of Cups. Yeah. So the Queen, so if you think about in leadership of the Queen and a King, the Queen is the nurturing quality, right? And so that that nurturing leader that stands in the ability to give, to know, deeply connected with source, is a beautiful thing. It has to do with patience, both patience to allow things to come and patience with others. And so that's the gift by going through this. The gift that sits on the other side is this Queen of Cups energy, Queen of emotion, Queen of love, Queen of compassion, which is a really lovely, lovely spot to live in from.
Beautiful. I love that.
Then, so our hero has achieved the goal, found the reward, and now has to return home. And so there's the road home, which often has its own set of challenges, its own sort of threshold, as it were. But it's like sometimes, because like, hey, why wouldn't you want to just live here?
Mm-hmm.
I've attained this. I'm just going to sit in my cave and
sit on my throne and love the world.
Exactly. Hold my cup. I look fabulous. So then the road back, the invitation says, here's the Four of Cups. Now, I love the Four of Cups. You know, when in the new, in aces of each of the suits, there's like this cloud emerging with a hand, and it has the symbol. So this has that same energy, but there's also three cups that he's looking at. And so sometimes it's thought of as disappointment. But again, to me, this is like, pay attention to what's emerging, not just what you've lost or not just what's past. Yeah. And then, interesting. So then what happens, let me finish this. So when we're returning home, we return home not as the person who left. We are still that person, but we are achieving mastery of two worlds. So for me, I always say, you know, for me, the spiritual journey has been this balance between I'm a spiritual being and I'm a human being. And sometimes I've been in places where I just identify with the human self and kind of forget about the spiritual. There's other times when I'm so darn spiritual, I don't do any of that human stuff. Somewhere is finding that balance. So when we go through this whole journey, we return not as the person left, but as with new understanding, new insight, new mastery. And so very interestingly, your outcome card is the Six of Wands. Wands, again, being the fiery energy. This is often called the victory card. This is about confidence, perseverance, and so on. So interesting that out of the 10 cards, you got 3 sixes. Yeah.
That's good luck.
Yes. Go good. Good. So I know we've got to do a little break here. Do you have a question or anything that you want to?
Well, yeah, I don't have a question. I'm definitely I'm leaning into what you're saying. I feel like I'm a student. I don't know the tarot like you do. So I'm interested in I'm someone that loves to see patterns and how things relate. And so I'm getting a sense with the sixes and with the cups and cups and the pentacles, the swords, the wands, all of it. I'm looking to make sense of that and dive in a little deeper. So I
Awesome.
think you're the perfect person to help me do that.
Great. When we come back.
All right. When we come
I
back.
wanted to say that. When we come back, we'll do the reading part and look at what's, now how do we put all those pieces together?
Yeah. And not just for me, but for, everyone that's watching. You take these as cards or insights for yourself and for moving into the rest of January and on into the rest of 2026. So we will be right back.
Awesome.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you. Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
And we're back. I'm so excited to hear about this journey, putting it all together and, doing the reading, I guess. So explain what we just did in, terms of, because I know you do these sessions with people to over Zoom or in person to help them understand their own story and relate to some of the, the wisdom from beyond through the tarot. And so what just happened? We picked cards.
We picked cards. So we did the spread. So okay. we picked cards, we set them up. So in tarot, I like to think of there's content and there's context, there's what this means, and then what does it mean as a whole. So we kind of did content. This is the card, what it means in this position. Then what we want to do now is kind of look at what's context. What story is trying to be told here, as it were.
So what would you say to someone that's watching that is like, has always heard that the tarot is, is something that is not good. It's something, because a lot of people have sort of energy about things like the tarot or crystals, and then some people like you and me, we love this side of the mystery of life. And so what would you say to those that this might be their first exposure to something like the tarot?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. I know people, I'm living in the South, and it's kind of interesting that how, some people are like, you do what, where if you're in different places, they're like, cool, when, but again, there's a lot of misconceptions, but ultimately all we have here is a deck of cards that have some meaning. And so we are in, we exist in a one mind. I read somewhere that mind is common to all. We can tap insight and energy by learning the cards and interpreting them for the message that they have for us in the moment. Now, I don't believe in tarot as a tool to make decisions per se. I wouldn't say, okay, go invest now. You got, a bunch of pentacles, go invest in, put your 401 into it. But rather, I'm looking at sort of what are the energies. And in that process, sometimes decision making is easier because we tap back into like this card that says, pay attention to opportunities that are emerging. This is called a lost card sometimes because the focus is on the what's lost. This one is saying to us, your angel on your shoulder. Here's the 5 of pentacles. This is also being out in the cold. This is missing, so these people are struggling, but behind them is warmth. And I would say that's available to them. So to me, I've kind of come to think of it as like, I'm not really a musician, but I understand, I know enough that there's notes, and those notes, everybody has access to them. But the way they put it together is the music they make, right? And so for me, learning about tarot is just saying there's symbology. What's resonating with my mind? What speaks to me in this symbology? Because this, again, is sort of a universal story. You go from the Fool to the World. So all these different stages of growth and understanding that we go through as human spiritual beings. And then we come to the world, which is completion, and we start again. So when I do these readings, you could look at the big story of your life. And you've had some big stories in your life of loss and pain and all that. We can look at it as the little story of this moment, or of this adventure, of this pursuit I was just after, or the pursuit I'm considering. What is it indicating to me? And somehow, by resonating and being open, the message seems to emerge that's helpful in the moment. So as a reader, say, this is what this means for you, and you're gonna, it's just going, here's kind of what I'm getting. And usually there's a synchronicity that happens between us that says, oh, I get that. That makes sense for what I'm looking at right now.
So it seems like it could be used as a inspiration, or a tool to go a little deeper beyond the surface of our lives, and our usual way of reacting, or our usual way of thinking about certain things, but to take a more mindful approach to develop greater self-awareness.
Beautifully put. I think for me, sometimes we're so bombarded with information, and we're, watching the news, and we're doing all this stuff, and we're making all these decisions, and then to stop and slow down and just go, what else? I mean, I find it interesting that these 2 cards of pay attention showed up, right? Which I think is vital for us collectively. Like, we're in this is a 1 year. So 2026, out of the numbers, it comes to 1, which is the beginning of a new cycle. We just finished a cycle. And if you think back where you were 9 years ago, what was 2016, 2017 like? And now we're beginning a new cycle. I think the world seems a little crazy. but I also believe that we're in this process of the old is dying, and so that the new can emerge. I know, it seems like everybody I'm talking to is like, there's this thing happening for me right now. Like, I feel called to do my next thing, or I'm exploring my creativity, or I'm exploring my passion. There's something more to this life. And I think what tarot is just a tool. You can do it a lot of different ways, but for me, it's been a tool that helps us understand and pick out some themes, as it were.
Yeah, it's as you frame it up or do the spread in relation to the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, it sort of gives us a sense of stepping out of our own life and sort of gaining perspective on the bigger picture of our life. And when we're not so caught up in the story, but can see the story from a bit of a distance, I get the sense that you might gain perspective on the fact that there's different choices, or that there's new pathways. It doesn't have to, when you're stuck in the story,
right?
Like it's like the nose on your face, when you don't know that it's there, but once you step back a bit and you see, the whole picture makes a bit more sense, or it's maybe more perceived as easier to cope with, especially if there's challenges. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Even the ability to say, we used to do a workshop, and one of the things exercises was, I have a story about, right? And we just start talking to other people, you start talking about your drama or your life as, I have a story, like I made this up, which at some level we make up everything. So when even this ability to see it as a story, as opposed to my heavy dramatic life, to be able to go, well, and I'm not loving the ending of the story. So what do they do in Hollywood? They rewrite the ending, they test it. And, it's like, that's where our choice and our power comes. I used to, I use this example. I may have used it before, but part of what I like about tarot, I did a lot of counseling over the years as pastoral counseling, and, people will come in and they're struggling with their situation, and we can explore all kinds of things. But I remember back when my nephew was little and he would misbehave, and I said, well, looks like we're going to have a chat with Barney. So I'd get him, and I'd get Barney and put him on one knee and put Barney on the other knee. And by having Barney available, it was not, why are you such a rotten kid? It was like, what do you think Barney would think about this? Or what, it became this diffused way of looking at a situation. So in some ways, I just see tarot as Barney for adults.
I love that.
So we can, just look at what's a story that's unfolding, and is it resonant, and is it, nothing is casting concrete. It's just pay attention. To me, that's what it's saying, is pay attention. This is what's showing up for you right now. Pay attention. And
so if we're going to interpret this story, and I think I want to go this direction, but you're in charge here. If we're going to interpret this story for everyone, not just me, even though I selected them, this I'd love to hear how you add context through the spread or the representation of this hero's journey.
Okay, so here we are. We're at a moment in life where we've got the moon calling us. So what's unconscious? What's not been revealed? What can you see in the darkness that you can't see in the light? What's being called forward? I don't know. Is there anything going on in the world? I don't know. I haven't.
There's a lot going on in the world, and it almost does feel like, I was in a group last night, and it's a support group, and I was one of the co-facilitators, and it's called We Are Not Alone, or You Are Not Alone. And so it was to sort of support people, give them an opportunity to talk about what's going on in the world, and to give a sense of support for people to know that. And there were stories shared about from back in history, like 200, 300 years ago. We have, as a civilization, been going through stories like this, or realities like things not going the way we want, or people in power not speaking for everyone but just a few. And so there's some comfort in that like we're not the first ones. Our ancestors have gone through similar challenging times, and it seems like, and one of the guests last night said that something good seems to always come out of something bad.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's what I'm sensing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's when you recognize that this is not a new story. This is not something people have faced challenges forever. They've overcome them. They've survived them. They've thrived through them. They've discovered something more. So I think a lot of what's happening for us right now is what needs to die is being revealed so that we can take action. So it's important. So at the top of our story, so we have the subconscious at the bottom of it, or in the heart of it, the seeker. Then we have this Three of Wands that just say, envision the world you want. We were just talking about this. We need to be in the midst of the chaos, envisioning the world that we want to see. Because vision creates form. We can look at, oh, ain't it awful, but we still have to know in our own hearts and our own mind what the world is we're trying to create. Then it says the call to action is, okay, get busy. Do something about it. Take action.
Treat, move your feet.
Exactly. So whatever is yours to do that. And we all have a different role, and only you know what that is, but do that. Take your action. Do that to help begin the vision that you are holding to bring itself into form. Then we cross a threshold, which is around generosity, about being willing to be generous, not only with our resources, but with our spirits. I don't know about you, but I find myself being pissed off at people that I don't even know sometimes. And then I'm reminded of these little monks walking across the country and going, today's my peaceful day. And that helps me remember too, that everyone's God's children and God bless them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can be grounded in its center, not to be in denial, just so I can be grounded and centered to do the work I'm called to do.
Yeah, I think being generous, it seems like in times of struggle, people can close down and hold on.
Right.
And so I'm seeing this as a reminder or a wake up. Just because you feel like shutting down or closing off or being upset, it's time to actually be more giving of your love or more giving of your time and attention.
Right. Yes. And so here's our road of trials, which, as I said, sometimes it's a 6 card, which is about perseverance, but it's also sometimes called the nostalgia card. And so part of what we're being challenged with, and you haven't figured out I'm liberal. Just thought I'd disclose that in case nobody had figured it out. But I feel like there's a lot of people that say, well, let's go back in time, that there was some magical time which was better than now, right? And I think we're being challenged by that, right? So what comes up that says, no, the supreme ordeal is we need to put that idea out, right? That, it's an idea whose time has come and now needs to leave. On the other side of that, and this is not about violence, this is about just saying, 10s are completion cards. So that whole process has come to completion. Time for a new beginning. The gift force is the Queen of Cups. Being patient, being loving, tapping the unconscious, tapping the superconscious, tapping the spiritual, intuitive side of ourselves. That, to me, I hear that from so many people. Like, something's opening up in me. It's because we're in that energy. And then we're being told, okay, so as we're returning back into the normal world, we're going to give our gifts. Remember to pay attention to what else is seeking to emerge. Don't be too caught on what we're losing, but also recognize that there's a new gift that's coming forward for us, a new creation, a new possibility based on.
I love that idea of not looking for what's wrong or what's missing, but deepening into the gift that is right in front of us, or the gift within us.
Yeah.
That maybe you're not seeing.
Right. Isn't that always the thing? Because if we focus, I mean, part of what New Thought teaches is if we focus on the negative, we attract the negative. But if we can pay attention to, even in the midst, so I always like to go, it doesn't mean you have to be in denial about what is, but it also recognize that that's not all that there is. Mm-hmm. For me, spiritual work is what else is here, what else is happening. And so having returned to the world, our mastery has to do with the spiritual mastery. Wands have to do with fire. They have to do with passion. And so so the kind of the victorious person on it's about overcomers, persevering. It's about riding high once the darkness of this time emerges or is released.
Yeah, and you said fire. Is that something that's represented by the what are those?
The wands. Yeah.
The wands.
Yeah. So the wands, the element is fire. Swords, the element is air. Cups, the element is water, emotion. And pentacles, the element is earth.
Okay. So it's almost like that wands is representative of a sense of the phoenix rising, like things being alchemicalized and being born anew.
Right. Exactly. If you look, so at the top of our wheel, and I always like to look at the top of the wheel is the three of wands looking out, envisioning. At the bottom, the supreme ordeal is this put it into the old. So it says, going through the moon, it's saying there's a new world, be aware of it. Also be aware that requires letting go. And sometimes, I don't know, you've probably never done it, but sometimes I've wanted to not let go. I wanted to hang on to the old and still have the new.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. There's no room. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact that there's 3 6s in here just says this is about perseverance. 6s have to do with at an emotional level, at an earthy level, at a spiritual level. It's about staying the course. We can't afford to be in the negativity of the moment, in the hopelessness of the moment.
Beautiful. I think that is a universal story, not only the hero's journey, but the story that we have explored together today is an extremely powerful story of hope and of empowerment, and a way to look at what's happening right now from a different perspective. And I think that each of us can interpret those different cards of what is it within myself that wants to come forth? What is it that I'm here to be or to do or to become that can meet this moment with more love and more creativity? Because like the title of this show, Growing Edge, we're all at the growing edge of our own becoming. And like Dorothy and Glenda in The Wizard of Oz tells us, the power was there all along. And a vehicle like the tarot, of tarot journeys, is is so helpful to get us out of the stuckness or out of our own story and allow us to move beyond.
Right. Yeah, and I think part of when you look at this particular spread, how it showed up, it reminds me like there is a process you go through these steps. The call to the adventure was the Knight of Swords. That's a dynamic, like this guy's going into battle, right? And sometimes we need that, but the gift was the Queen of Cups, which is a very different ground. There's a place and a time to be a Knight of Swords.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're working towards in our consciousness is to be that place of kindness, of compassion, of nurturing, of patience, of rising above, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of wisdom in the telling of this story, because we can look at the cards and we can, make up whatever, but to have someone like you that has studied this to be able to relate it to us today, because I'm sure that card deck was created decades ago, and bring it into relevance and be able to add context to this is really helpful. So tell us a little bit about the people that you've worked with. We've only got a couple of minutes. I just realized I'm looking at the time. I can't believe it's gone so quickly. What is it that people come away with once they've had their own session like this? And this was very powerful, doing a collective one. But when you work with someone one-on-one, what is it that they usually come away with? And we're right here at the end. So
they come away with absolute enlightenment.
You're funny.
No.
And
no, I think my gift has always been to create safe space. And so this to me is just a way to create a space, because I believe we all have, we had it all along. We had those qualities within us, but we're here together on a planet because we don't always see it. We see it in each other, often more so than we see it in ourselves. And so by having a tool that says, see if this has meaning for you. People come up with their own answers. I've never had to say, here's what you want to do. I have no idea. I can't even figure out my life. So I'm about to make but people just sometimes by having the Barney in the lap go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Right. So
beautiful.
That's always my goal, to help have meaningful information that they can use in their life.
Fabulous. Well, Marty, thank you so much for this
this was
journey,
great.
This hero's journey. And people can connect with you at tarotjourneys.org and learn more about what you do, and can contact you there. So thanks again. I love you very much.
Love you more.
Yeah. And thanks everyone for being here today. It has been a beautiful new journey, and this is exactly like how I like to kick off the new year, in expanding our minds and our perspective. And I'll see you next week with another conversation and a deep dive here at The Growing Edge. Bye-bye.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth, to live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge.